this video, we're going to talk all about propagation, specifically how to root them in water and then transplanting them into their own soil. So I've been propagating some Pilea, some spider plants, Pothos, string of hearts, and a few ivies, and I'm going to show you guys how we do it. Stay tuned. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Christian, also known as the Crazy Plant Guy. I mostly do plant videos on this channel, and if you are a plantaholic like me and you have not hit that subscribe button, be sure to do so. You guys can also follow me on Instagram because that's where I'm pretty much every day. So at Crazy Plant Guy is my handle name. But yeah, so what I want to do today is actually talk all about propagation, specifically how to root your plants in water. You guys know the best way to really expand your collection or also give a few plants as gifts is obviously to propagate them. And the way I usually propagate my plants is I will typically get them to root in water first before transplanting them into soil. So I got some Pileas here that I've been propagating for the last couple of months, and I actually did do a video on how to propagate this guy, so be sure to check that out. Also some string of hearts, spider plants, some pothos, and some ivy. Now, a few general rules when it comes to propagating in water. Obviously, you guys will need some propagation station, and I got these guys from Amazon, so I'll provide a couple links below if you want to check that out. But you guys can typically use any mason jars or water bottles that you don't use anymore, as long as they're clear. Even some glass that I had to use as well. And yeah, so a couple of rules when it comes to propagating in water. Make sure that any plant you stick into the propagation station or water has the node submerged in water. So what that means is, let's take this pothos as an example, right? That is where the node, and you guys can see that the root grew out of the node. So you want to make sure that he is submerged in water. If you take this variegated ivy, for example, I just took a clipping and he doesn't have any nodes yet. So what you want to do is actually get rid of some of the leaves at the bottom by clipping them off. And that is where typically the roots will grow, because you have created now a node. So there is a node, if you guys can see that. And then I'm going to cut this guy maybe up to here, and then submerge this guy into the water. So I don't have an empty one right now, but let's say I'm going to put this guy where this pothos is. So typically that is what you'll just do. But yeah, so that's how you want to make sure that the node is submerged in water. I always leave all my propagation station closest to the window or get as much bright light as they can. I don't typically change the water until about maybe every other week or every week, depending on how dirty it gets. But I do need to top off the water, every other day, because obviously they evaporate, especially if they are sitting close to the window. But those are typically the general rules when it comes to propagating in water and getting them to root. You will typically see roots forming maybe in about a week or two, depending on the plant. For example, these Pileas, they grew roots really quickly. Like within a couple days, I started to see them form some roots. And yeah, this guy has been here for maybe about a month now, and you can tell his roots are quite long. Some other plants will take a little longer, like your string of hearts. I found these guys took a little bit longer to develop the roots, but once they start developing, they do tend to grow fast. And the good thing about when it comes to propagating in water that I actually keep an eye on is, are they still growing? So are they growing new leaves? And that's a sign of obviously they are doing well in water. So be sure to keep an eye on them. But yeah, so that's pretty much it when it comes to rooting these guys in water. Now, when is it time to transplant them into soil? I typically will wait until the guys have formed about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of roots. That's when I know it's safe to obviously transplant them into soil, except for maybe these spider plants. So the spider plant is a little different because these guys have already aerial roots, so you can typically plant these guys directly into soil. But if they don't have any aerial roots yet, put them in water and they'll develop some roots like this guy. See if you guys can see. I'm using a GoPro at the same time, so hopefully I give you guys a much more visual on what I'm doing here. But yeah, so Another question I get is how long can you leave them in water? You know, typically you can leave them for however long you want. This guy is a cutting from my jasmine plant, which is the oldest plant I have. And I think he's been here for probably over a year. And I know, look at this guy's roots. Like, it is so long right now. And you know, if this was the case and I was gonna put this guy into soil, I'd probably trim his roots so that way it's not too, doesn't take up too much energy. And but yeah, I think this guy's roots, if I pull it up, yeah, it is way too long. Look at this. So look how healthy he is. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave him in water. So you can leave these guys in water for however long you want. They just probably won't thrive and grow like they would if they were into, obviously planted into soil. But yeah, this English ivy I have here right now has also been rooting for quite some time. You guys can see how long his roots are. I actually cut this guy because I noticed that when he was in his soil, I thought there was a bit of mealybugs that were on it. So I pretty much just took a clipping of it and started to root in water. So that way it was a way for me to obviously save the plant from getting destroyed. But yeah, I think that's about it when it comes to rooting in water. I don't put any root hormones. I know some people do. I guess you can, depending on how fast you want your plants to obviously develop roots. But yeah, I typically just use water and put them into bright light, and yeah, they start growing some roots. So let's now start talking about how to obviously transplant them into soil. So I keep getting asked the question, what type of soil do I use? I always use premium potting mix and cacti soil, a bit of perlite, and some orchid bark. So it depends on the plant and the type of plant. Some plants obviously need a bit more moisture in their soil, while others require a bit more of a drainage and a drier type of soil. So depending on the plant, I will typically do 50-50, 50% cacti soil, 50% perlite, 50% cacti soil, 50% premium potting mix, and then you know, a bit of perlite and some orchid bark just to create that drainage. But if it is the type of plant that you're afraid to obviously overwater, or you need a lot of drainage, I will do a higher ratio of cacti soil, so say 60-40. Or if it's the other way around and you need the plant to retain more moisture, then do 60% premium potting mix and then 40% cacti soil. So that is typically the type of soil I use. And I don't use a specific brand of soil. Pretty much, any good premium potting mix or cacti soil is good, as long as you, again, create the right balance depending on the type of plant you are going to put into that soil. So we'll start with the Pilea, because these guys have gone probably the longest I've been trying to propagate in water. And if you guys recall, in my last video, or in one of my videos, I did do a how to propagate your Pilea Peperomioides, as well as some general care tips. So in that video, I obviously clip one of the babies off and try to get as much of his stem, because that is where the roots are going to grow. So typically when you propagate this guy, when you cut him off, you want to give at least about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of that main stem, and that's where his roots are going to come from. But yeah, this guy grew really, really quickly. So again, I already have my soil in my 4-inch pot. You don't want to go too big of a pot when you are just trying to, excuse me, you don't want to go too big of a pot when you are just transplanting these guys. You also want to keep them, small. So I usually use a 4-inch pot. But yeah, so you typically just put a hole in there and then you stick this guy in. So we'll do a couple of these guys. And then you want to make sure that when you are planting him, that you give him about, you want to make sure that where his bottom leaves are is still sticking above the soil. You don't want to put him too close down into the soil, because obviously you want to make sure that he is going to thrive and grow. But yeah, so I'm just now going to add some top off soil, and then that's pretty much it. So if you guys are wondering why I'm doing this now, is actually I also want to give these guys away to a few of my coworkers as kind of my Christmas gift to them, because I always feel like you got to share your plants, because especially if it's just to someone who may not necessarily like plants, but maybe they can like plants and love plants, which I always think is a great thing. So but yeah, so here we go. There's one, easy. I'm gonna do one more on this guy right here. Again, look at those roots, nice and healthy. See? So yeah, so obviously with the Pilea, I will probably use like a 50-50 balance of cacti soil and premium potting mix. But definitely I threw a lot of perlite in there, as well as a bit of orchid bark, so that way you know, he can drain really well when you're watering these guys. And ta-da! That's done. Now we got one more here. Ooh, look at these guys. This guy, look at those roots. See, I don't know if you guys can see, but yeah, this guy's gonna be healthy. And again, for those of you guys who have not seen how big Pilea Peperomioides can get within a year, check my video out. I'll provide a link in the description below, or click one of the cards above. But we'll finish this off, and then we'll move on to the string of hearts. There you guys have it. So I now have 3 new Pilea Peperomioides plants that I can give away, and yeah, so there you guys have it. Now let's move on to, actually before we move on to the string of hearts, let's actually propagate these variegated English ivy. So you guys recall I already clipped this guy off and created a new. So actually no, I need to change the water in this guy. Be right back. All right guys, I'm back. So I just changed the water. So we are now ready to, again, submerge this node into the water for this variegated English ivy. So I'm actually going to create a couple more because you know, I had this plant for over a year now and they grew like crazy, but I realized that I don't really care, or I don't really take care of this guy like the way I do with my other plants. So I want to give him a bit more love. So again, I'm going to create a node here. Ta-da! So there you guys have it. I am going to propagate these variegated English ivy because I think they're beautiful plants. And again, you want to make sure these guys are as close to the window or get a lot of bright indirect light as much as possible. And obviously keep an eye to make sure that you are topping up the water when it starts to obviously decrease, or because you want to make sure the node is always submerged in water. So now put this guy on the side, and then we're now going to, so now let's transplant the string of hearts. You guys know, if you've been following me on Instagram, these guys have been rooting in water for some time now, and they are definitely ready to be put into soil. So typically what I do with my string of hearts is whenever I'm transplanting them, I'll usually put about, you know, 4 to 6 strings in a 4-inch pot. That way they can, you know, it can create that nice full look. So just gonna add a bit more soil here. And then what we're gonna do, see, I got about, there's a couple here that's a little bit tangled. Actually, no, this one's cool. So yeah, let's see if you guys can see here. See, he's got about 2 strings in one, has developed some nice roots. So I'm going to put a little hole, usually in the middle, into the soil, and pretty much just make sure his roots are under there. And you know, there you go. I'm gonna put this guy as well near him. Make a nice hole deep enough that his roots are going to be covered. Usually top off the soil. There you go. And we got this tiny little guy. Actually, you see how small his roots are in this one? I'm gonna put him in water until those roots are a little longer, because I don't want to risk the chance of him not surviving. But that's okay, because I got a couple more here, a couple more good ones here. So nice long string here. I'm going to put him in there again. With some more soil. There we go. Okay. So after putting these guys in their soil, what I'll typically do is I'll actually wrap this guy in a circle on top of the soil like that. And it's just a way to kind of create more of that full look. And that way when he grows, he'll have a nice healthy top and then start to trail down. So yeah, there you guys have it, the variegated string of hearts. So this I'm actually going to keep for myself because I don't have a big one like this, unlike my regular string of hearts. So I know everyone keeps asking me for cuttings, but I'm gonna wait until he's strong, healthy, and big, and then that way there's more strings to go around, there's more cuttings I can give away. So I'm looking forward to getting this guy to turn out like that guy over there. But yeah, so there is the string of hearts. So now let's do the spider plant. You guys can see that this is from my big spider plant, and he's got probably already a couple babies growing out of him. So there's probably about 2 or 3 in here. And typically I was gonna try and separate him, but I think I'm just gonna plant him like this as a big one, so that way you know, I don't damage the ones I'm gonna try and remove, because those aerial roots, you can tell that they're, you know, they're pretty much grappling together. So again, with spider plants, you guys can put this in water to try and grow more of the roots, but these aerial roots are pretty strong. And last time I did this, I literally put him in soil like this, and he was just growing after that. So that is what we're gonna do with this guy. Here's the soil, and literally you just make a little hole there, stick this guy in like that, and just top him up with some soil, and pretty much that is it. Ta-da! There you go. You now have a nice, beautiful spider plant. And this guy's gonna be, you know, because he's a little older, I'm actually going to keep this guy because I want him to, you know, get bigger and be another big guy that will obviously produce more babies as well. So I have a lot of baby spider plants, so I'll use those ones instead. They're a little bit smaller than this guy, but this guy's he's pretty much a teenager already. So there you have it. Now let's do the Pothos. So this guy again has been sitting in water for a long time now, or you know, probably about 4 weeks, and you can see his roots here are about 2 inches long. So this guy's perfect. This one right here is already developing 2 roots, so he's gonna be transplanted. So let's do that right now. So when it comes to the Pothos, what I typically want to do is actually create like a crown. So I'll probably take about maybe 3 or 4. Let's do 4. Find one. Okay, so these 4 guys are here. They all got healthy roots. So what we're going to do is create a crown for this guy. So let's do that right now. Ta-da! So hopefully this guy will grow a nice full crown at the top, and then you know, obviously trail to the side. So I think that's all I'm gonna do for today. I'm not going to transplant this English ivy because I do like the way he looks, how he's nicely trailing, and his roots are quite visible in this clear vase that I'm using right now. When it comes to post-care of any of these plants that you just transplanted into the soil, obviously you want to water them and make sure that the water runs through their container pots, and then put them in the same location where you had these guys sitting in water. That way they get that nice bright indirect light that they definitely need. And again, you know, because it's winter and the days are shorter, I would recommend using a grow light. Put these guys under a grow light, and that's what I'm going to do. Again, I'm using this grow light right now that I got from Amazon. So if you're wondering where I got my grow light, I'll provide a link in the description below. Other than that, hopefully you guys got something out of this. If not, you know, ask a comment, let me know, and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.